Angel, man, put her name and her signature on the game against the Sky, on the comeback, the revenge tour, however you want to call it. She got it done. And we get into it next on Beyond the Locker Room. Angel in disguise. Angel came into Chicago and definitely was making sure that when she left with the dub, and she left chalk outlines out there for everybody. Obviously, I've been covering this story from last year, and the fallout with She in the Sky. You know, it's kind of one of those games of WNBA this season. You want to circle on the map to see what it looked like. Lots of Angel Reese Chicago jerseys in the building last night. Definitely can see what the fan base thought of the move and whose side they fell on. Not management. Let's put it that way. Sorry, man. It's not you and not management. So Angel Reese, came back. She put up 17-17 for, I think she had a block. She hit a 3. She's perfect at the free throw line. She was coming in doing damage. And quite honestly, to give credit to Chicago played scrappy. They were leading for most part of the first half. Even most parts of the third quarter. And they got away from it in the fourth quarter with lack of execution. Their guards played great. Cloud, and Diggins, they're going to be at it. They're going to fight and scrap for everything. Obviously, they're talented, but I would just say this I'll say this for the Chicago side. They made the decision, and that's fine. It's their right to do so, and they moved off of Reese, and essentially their way of not so subtly say, okay, we're going to move on with Cardoso. Cardoso, though, man, like, you're the biggest, almost every given night, unless you're playing Connecticut, you're playing Brittany Griner, you're usually the biggest player in the court every night you're playing. And at some point, it's got to click in for her, man. Like, I don't know when. You're the number 1 pick overall. At some point, you got to click in. And you got to start dominating, act like you're that size. She ended up with 2 rebounds, I believe, for the game. That's, like, for you to play your old teammate, your buddy, and she's out there whooping you like that with 17 boards. Like, not just her, the whole front court was getting it handed to her. Like, I don't know what's going on with Chicago from that perspective, but they got to sort out something with her and light a fire underneath her, because they're only going to go as far as Cardoso goes. So for them to have that type of performance on a night everyone knew was marked by everybody. Everyone's front offices marked this game. All the players marked this game. Of course, Angel marked this game. As far as Reese goes, and just expanding the discussion a little bit, I mentioned how well she played and what she gave. And they needed it, quite honestly, because, she and Hillman were carrying the load mostly offensively. Gray, Howard have been spotty this year, especially Howard. Man, she's had some brutal offensive nights this year. But they're all trying to still figure out. And I do sense that, I think about a week or so, maybe 10 games ago, I noticed, I made some comments on X about it, that, Reese is rounding the form, starting to figure out a lot more of her teammates and what's going on with them. And you can see it now. She's getting more and more comfortable with the roster. She's starting to find her way. And I think the thing is, too, she believes she has a coaching staff and a management that are looking to put the effort and the interest in getting, on building her game out. And I think that's going to be a really good match as the season goes on. But I think right now with Atlanta's circumstances, they got to really work on their offense. They got beat by the Fever a couple nights ago, and that offense was stalling out at times, and you can't, when you're playing against these top teams, right now the Fever's got their own issues, but the talent is definitely top tier talent. But when you're playing against these teams, man, you gotta make sure you can't have lulls in your offense, your half court offense. So Alicia Gray gotta step it up. She's an MVP caliber player. Howard, top line player, all-star caliber player. They gotta be better consistently every night. Did I expect Reese to be carrying the offensive load tonight in the last couple of nights? No. Do I think that she has the opportunity to do so at times during the season? Absolutely. Did I think that she'll be doing that so early in the season? No. So they're 8-3. There's a lot of reasons why. Angel Reese is one of the big reasons why. When you get the best rebounder in the game, it does help you, and one of the best defensive players. Right now, how she's playing, I mean, she's in the discussion right now for DPOY. We'll see how the season goes on, but she's been fantastic defensively. And she's one of the few players that at least, I ain't saying she ain't stop anybody, but at least keep Asia in some sort of check, because like, Asia's gonna still score, like she still gets like 20 on her, 22, but she's not getting 30-point games like how she does with most teams. She has a way to make Asia earn her buckets a lot more. And if you have that, you're gonna need that obviously if you get in the playoffs and you run into her. So she's been fantastic. I said before, Howard, Gray, they need to step it up a little bit more and really figure out their offense. It's been a bit streaky so far this season, but even with that said, they're 8-3, one of the best teams in the league, right there with Vegas, right there with Minnesota. Olivia Miles, boy, I have to do a pot on her. She's a beast. We'll get in her as the summer goes on. But good stuff to see here. The W's are on a great roll right now. Lots of competitive, a lot of interesting games, really fun teams to watch. So check it out, guys. The Tempo doing their thing. We'll get into more of them as the season goes on as well, too. But anyways, that's all I got to say right now. I want to do a quick little W update because I thought it was a big moment there in the league this week. So that's all I have to say right now. Be safe out there. As always, guys, keep it locked, and we'll talk next time. Peace.